after he finds the most suitable material, and Dummy will definitely become a very powerful beast. A few hours passed. Finally, Dazai regained her strength and woke up. But she saw Dummy and Gao Peng sleeping on the sofa. Dazai thinks of a better idea, then she gets a blanket and walks toward Gao Peng. Dazai put the blanket on Gao Peng, then she hugged Gao Peng, which made Gao Peng uncomfortable. On the other hand, Tang Tang was looking at them in the window mirror while wondering if it was the calmness before the storm, and wishing Gao Peng will grow up as soon as possible. The following day, at the principal's office, the principal was shouting at Mr. Ma because he disagreed with letting the monster into the school. The principal angrily said that the students in the school are still children and not professionally trained. Mr. Ma calmly responded that in times of peace, the age of the student was still considered a child, but in ancient times, people of the same age as students already took weapons to defend the country. The principals understand what Mr. Ma words and ask in a worried tone if the current situation of the world got worse. Mr. Ma said the new technologies are being researched all over the world, but the speed is still too slow. Mr. Ma explained that if the technologies are still slow, and when the day comes when their technology is no longer a threat to the monsters, it'll be too late for the world. Meanwhile, in the classroom, Gao Peng feels uncomfortable because his classmates are looking at him. Suddenly, one of his classmates asks him if he really gets the Intermediate Monster Trainer certificate. Then Gao Peng asks his classmate back how did he know about his certificate. His classmate shows the Chang'an Daily newspaper to him excitedly. Then all his classmates congratulates him, which made him shy. Suddenly, one of Gao Peng's classmates asks if he can make a small request, but Gao Peng stops him. Then Gao Peng said his request was small, so it was not going to be difficult for him alone. But for both of them, it was not a good deal, which made his classmate angry, but their room teacher was behind Gao Peng's classmate's back. Then their teacher named Miss Murong hit his classmate's head with a piece of paper, which made everyone run back to their sits. Miss Murong made the student silent and said she had an announcement. Miss Murong announced that all schools around the world are urgently reformed. The second-year high school will have a new course on beasts, and a new special recruitment channel was added. It was a joint project of the Union Ministry of Education and the Union Military. Also, the best student can be recruited directly by the top academies or military academies. Miss Murong also said that the military coaches will be in the school soon, and students who are interested in joining the academies will begin training in the afternoon. And if they want to be special students, they need to come to Miss Murong as soon as possible after class to sign up. The class was panicking because of the sudden changes. Suddenly, Miss Murong called for Gao Peng and asked him to come out for a moment because Miss Murong wanted to talk to him. Outside the classroom, Miss Murong said the principal praised him by name in the meeting because he got the Intermediate Monster Trainer's certificate straight away. And tomorrow, the student of the 7th high school are coming, and the school like him to represent their school as a freshman. Gao Peng interrupted Miss Murong's words and said that formal speech doesn't suit him. But the fact is he likes to apply for the special student of the Imperial Ambassador. Miss Murong asks why he suddenly has an intention for the Imperial Ambassador position. Miss Murong thinks the Imperial Ambassador is a pretty good way to go, but it doesn't make much sense for Gao Peng. Miss Murong looked at the window said Gao Peng grades are very good, and the bonus of an Intermediate Monster Trainer's certificate will get him to get a lot of credits. He can try all the top academies in China and foreign academies well. While Miss Murong looking at the man getting the monster ready for the afternoon. Miss Murong said if Gao Peng really wants to become an Imperial Ambassador, he can also use cultural achievement to enter the military academy, and then apply for related majors. Miss Murong warned him to shouldn't rush. Gao Peng thanked Miss Murong for being considerate to him and said Miss Murong was right, and it was safer to enter the military academy before becoming an Imperial Ambassador. But it was too slow for Gao Peng because he wanted to learn more from actual combat training and grow stronger quickly. Also, Gao Peng assured Miss Murong to take both exams because he won't give up either opportunity. Miss Murong just smiles at him and turns around. Then said since Gao Peng has his own ideas, she won't stop him, but she hopes he can think it over. In the afternoon, the group of students was ready to meet their opponent. Suddenly, Gao Peng's classmate named Tan Kaianjin shouted in the crowd asking if Gao Peng signed up to be an Imperial Ambassador student too. Then Kaianjin walks past the crowd toward Gao Peng. Then he asks him if he was a monster trainer that has a good result. Gao Peng responded that his grades are also good and asks Kaianjin why did he sign up too. Kaianjin said it's all about his childhood dream he used to watch, and the monster in the film was very cool. Also, Kaianjin said he wanted to be the strongest ambassador. Gao Peng just leave him and said he should keep up, the field is just ahead. In the school court, the student who signed up for the military academy was waiting. In the court stage, the woman called for the colonel. Kaianjin said their instructor is not that special except for being strong. Suddenly the colonel looks in their direction, which made Kaianjin shocked, and Gao Peng think that the colonel has a murderous aura. The colonel first said that the student who comes have balls compared to the people who are afraid, but they shouldn't think they become imperial ambassador without a firm mind and without a will of steel. The colonel said they will be pissing their pants the moment they see a real monster in the wild, and their legs will be as soft as noodles, they won't be able to run away, which made everyone afraid. The colonel asks if they don't like it and he shows the monster. The colonel gets the monster and commands his lieutenant colonel to provide the armor plate. Then Lieutenant Collins report to the colonel that the target is 10 centimeters thick, and 3-type armor plate has been set up. The colonel orders the monster to go ahead, then the monster runs toward the armor plate and destroyed it. The armor plate was destroyed in just one attack, which made the students shocked in fear. Gao Peng wondered how the thick armor plate was destroyed in one attack. Then the colonel said that it was the killing power of a trained beast, and the monsters they will face in the future will have the same, or even greater power to kill. The colonel gives one last chance to the student who wants to quit and orders them to step out quickly. Gao Peng saw that many students wanted to quit. Suddenly the colonel asks the student who want to leave why their heads is down. The colonel said they didn't do anything wrong, and they should study hard because it was a good way out too. Also the colonel said they're not deserters, they just made a rational choice to go back to class. Then the colonel looked at the student who had chosen to stay and said they are different because from now on if anyone gives up, he's a real loser, and the colonel doesn't want any loser. After school is done, Gao Peng goes home tired, although he's mentally prepared. He didn't expect the situation to be a little more serious than he thought. Suddenly Dazai said she was hungry while Dummy was sulking in the corner. Gao Peng stands up to walk toward the refrigerator while thinking about the words that Colonel Chen said in 1 month. All institutes in the city will have to eliminate 1,200 students from enrollment, and Gao Peng opens the refrigerator while thinking the elimination rate is too high. When Gao Peng opens up the drawer of the refrigerator, the cedar pine needles are gone. Gao Peng looks around at the refrigerator wondering where his piles of cedar pine needles are, and Gao Peng finds just one cedar pine needle. Gao Peng barge out into the kitchen angry, asking where the other cedar pine needles are. Then Dazai points to Dummy and said Dummy eat it all. Gao Peng called Dummy and he walked towards sulking Dummy. Gao Peng touches Dummy back and tell to Dummy that next time if he wants to eat more, he needs to tell him. Gao Peng assured Dummy that he didn't say Dummy was wrong, but Dummy was still sulking in guilt. Gao Peng sits on the sofa and checks Dummy's property box. He saw that Dummy needs to absorb 600 pounds of cedar pine needles and Dummy's first stage is almost complete. Gao Peng ordered 30 pounds of cedar pine needles and 10 pounds of lightning flower fruit. 1 caddy of cedar pine needles is 1,000 Union currency, and it is only 1.5 credits to eat 15 caddies a day, which he can still afford. Gao Peng thinks it's good for Dummy that he can able to eat, and more beneficial substances are absorbed, and they can move faster to the next evolution. Dummy is still an elite rank monster, and when it's at a higher rank, the material Dummy needs to consume will be more precious, and some materials are even priceless that can only be obtainable by burning money. Then Gao Peng look at Dazai and thinks Dazai needs to take 200 pounds of lightning flower fruit to advance to perfect quality. The thunder flower fruit is cheaper than the cedar pine needles, and he can buy a pound of them for 100 Union coins. Then Gao Peng realizes that it's not easy to raise a family. Gao Peng decided to go to the monster park, but he was shocked to see that the owners and monsters were in chaos. But Gao Peng noticed the exaggerated pig with the girl. Gao Peng approached the girl and asks if it was her monster and if she can give him a little space because her beast is blocking the gate, which made the girl embarrassed. The girl sadly remembers her beast before and said in sad tone that when he bought her monster it was not this big. Suddenly the coach asks what happened. Then the other people said the beast blocking the way. The coach called his beast Silver and said to Silver that the pig was all him. Then Silver changed its expression like it going to attack the pig. The pig saw Silver expression, then the pig stand up in fear, which made its owner shocked. The coach said the show was over and if they were done, they should start the training right away. The owners and their beast were lined up and listening to coach words. The coach said she knows some of them want to sign more beasts in the future, so she will first train them to command their beasts. It was a very basic and very important part. The coach said even if their beast is strong, it won't listen to the command that is also equal to 0, and she believes they have just seen the opposite of the lesson. Then the people look at the girl with her big beast. The coach patted her beast and said if they want to train their beast, they must understand their habits and preference in order to establish a good relationship with their beast in a targeted way. The coach's example is her silver moon wolf. She bought its favorite black-clad pork and fed it to her beast personally. Also, she played and slept with her beast every day, which is why her beast's reliance on her has improved a lot, and it is willing to obey her command. The coach said that the Colonel's beast they had seen before smashed the armor plate with its tail, but in fact, the tail is not the Silver Moon Wolf's natural strong point. It was just the Colonel train his beast many months that the beast's tail gradually becomes harder and swing faster, which made the people shocked. The coach said that the wolf had additional means of attack besides its teeth and claw, and the Colonel's training method, developing the beast's attack diversity and enhancing the beast's advantages. Then the coach asks Old Lai to show the Silver Wolf's skills. Old Lai was playing with the stone in his hand while saying that the Silver Moon Wolf beside him was the same. But different training methods are used for different battles, and there are different directions of development. Then Old Lai throw the rock, then the wolf ran equally to the flying rock. Then the wolf destroyed it, which made Gao Peng and Da Zai shocked. The coach said the current classification of the beast has 5 categories: attack, defense, support, healing, and field control. The actual fact is that there are a lot of people who can do multiple categories. Then coach gives an example, the Green Devil Vine, which can act as both a defensive and a control type. But the most important thing is that they have to be able to use it as an attacker. The coach said he had already given them a demonstration and their official training will start. She also suggests they start with simple materials, such as training Bite Force to choose a wood first, and then gradually increase the hardness. The coach pointed to the apes who were moving the big box of materials and assured them to don't worry about the material because they shipped a large number of training materials. The coach asks the people who had chosen a training route to register and receive their training materials. Gao Peng looked at Da Zai, wondering what else Da Zai needs to strengthen. Then he remembered that Da Zai learned the secret art of damage transfer and Da Zai needed to improve her defense first. Then Gao Peng remembered the small ape who can move such a big box, and he was amazed. Suddenly Gao Peng remembered seeing in the studio's archives a kind of mutant ape monster with sparse hair, called the Fierce Fist Ape. Fierce nature is very warlike, but the defense is very low, so the fierce ape from birth will be trained by their parents. Gao Peng thinks it's crazy how the fierce ape uses their own body to hit the trunk of the tree. They first hit the tree, and then hit the rocks, mountain walls, and so on. Over time, the fierce ape repeatedly injured and healed skin becomes tougher and tougher. When the fierce ape becomes an adult, there are not only thick muscles, but also calluses and scars gathered together to form something to armor. And at that time the fierce adult will not suffer the slightest injury, even if they hit the mountain wall. Gao Peng thinks he can follow the fierce ape training method to train the defense of Da Zai. Then he chose the training materials in the box. Gao Peng called Da Zai who was relaxing under the tree. Gao Peng walked toward Da Zai while hiding something behind his back. Then Gao Peng said he has already chosen a training method for Da Zai, and he said it's better for Da Zai to have pain now than for the rest of Da Zai's life. Gao Peng slowly shows the item behind his back while saying that it can be a little bit of suffering, and Da Zai should swear now in order to not bleed later. Then he showed the big metal hammer he get for Da Zai while saying he'll be gentle, which made Da Zai shocked. Then Da Zai runs in fear. Gao Peng runs after Da Zai with a big metal hammer while shouting for Da Zai to stop because it's for her own good, and Da Zai must understand his pain. Gao Peng finally caught up with Da Zai while enduring the pain in his arm for holding the hammer for so long. 1 week later, Gao Peng was in his bed when his alarm tried to wake him up. Gao Peng just turned off his alarm, then tried to sleep again because he don't have training today. Suddenly he heard Da Zai knocking on something which made him fully awake. Gao Peng come out to his bedroom and Da Zai said she was hungry. Gao Peng start cooking while complaining about why he's suffering when Da Zai is the one who upgrading. Then he looked at Da Zai and Dummy. Then he realizes that Da Zai didn't eat for nothing during the period of extra meals because Da Zai grow bigger and successfully reached the 10th level. But Gao Peng is not sure if he was going to be able to get a good deal on Da Zai, and his arms are almost broken in Da Zai's defense training. And Dummy also almost ate up his salary. Suddenly Gao Peng's cell phone ring and Dummy notice it and grab the phone, then answer the call. The man who calls introduces his name as Liu Senlin, the general manager of Blue Shield Security Company. Gao Peng asks what Mr. Liu needs from him. Mr. Liu said he would like to talk about something with him that would be great benefit to him, and he asks Gao Peng if he has time to talk in person. At Fei Peng's studio, Gao Peng was welcomed by Quanquan, and Quanquan said his visitor is already waiting for him. Gao Peng meet Mr. Liu in his office, then Mr. Liu reached his hand out while introducing himself again. Gao Peng shakes Mr. Liu's hand and asks him to sit down. Gao Peng asks Mr. Liu why he was looking for him because there are senior trainers in Chang'an City, and he's not the only intermediate monster trainer. Gao Peng also said he doesn't know what kind of reputation he has that would make the general manager of a big security company come to his door on purpose. Mr. Liu laughed and said Gao Peng was too modest. Then Mr. Liu explained that there are senior trainers in Chang'an, but one of them is the president of the Monster Trainers Association named Mr. Chen, and he doesn't have time to be a consultant for a small company like his company. Also, the other senior trainer named Mr. Gu Xianlin is the government's full-time training consultant. Mr. Liu said he prefers to believe in the young and talented Gao Peng than those mid-level trainers. Gao Peng said before they continue Mr. Liu needs to accept his demand, otherwise there is no need to waste their time. Gao Peng's first demand is he has classes from Monday to Friday unless it is a very urgent situation, and they shouldn't disturb him during the weekdays. Second, it's fine for him to be a trainer consultant, but he won't sign a buyout exclusivity contract, and he can only guarantee that he won't help their competitors. Mr. Liu hand the contract to him because he agreed to Gao Peng's demand, and he asks Gao Peng if the part-time contract they prepare is appropriate. Gao Peng get the contract and read it. Gao Peng realizes that the contract is not quite right because there are no mandatory requirements. The salary is annual, 500 credits per year plus commission, and 50 credits for every successful evolution of Devil Mantis from the Blue Shield. Gao Peng signed the contract while wondering if the owner of the Blue Shield company is so rich and capricious, but the contract was almost a non-binding contract. Suddenly Quan Quan knocked on the room door and entered, then said that Mr. Ma, who made an appointment earlier, has arrived. Mr. Liu stand up and said since Gao Peng signed the contract, he won't bother him anymore. Then they head out. Gao Peng assists Mr. Liu to the elevator, then Mr. Liu said he'll look forward to their future cooperation. Then Gao Peng left. When Mr. Liu was waiting for the elevator, he called someone to report that Gao Peng signed the contract. Then Mr. Liu asks why he chose Gao Peng when there are so many trainers in Chang'an. But someone in the other line said something that Mr. Liu just agree. In other place, in the Fei Peng studio, Gao Peng is checking on Mr. Ma Beast. Gao Peng saw that the monster's name is the Four Seasons Begonia Demon. It was level 3, and its attribute is Urban. The Four Seasons Begonia Demon status is Health Pleasure, and its weakness is Fire and Lightning. Gao Peng asks Mr. Ma in an angry tone if he really wants his Flower Demon to evolve because the Flower Demon was pretty, the leaves have a fuchsia pattern and serrated edges, and also it has a slight fragrance. Mr. Ma said yes because there will be a Flower King competition in Chang'an City in half a month, and he's going to use his Flower Demon to compete for the position of Flower King. Quan Quan said the Flower King competition is usually for girls to participate. Mr. Ma said he also knows that he's a big man to compete for the Flower King, and it will look really strange. Then the Flower Demon holds Mr. Ma's finger and Mr. Ma said it was his second beast and he hopes to give his Flower Demon a good start. Then Mr. Ma begged Gao Peng to make his beast evolve so it has a better chance of taking the tournament, which made Gao Peng shocked because he didn't realize that Mr. Ma was so concerned about his beast. Gao Peng assured Mr. Ma that he will make his beast evolve. Then Gao Peng said Mr. Ma know the usual rules, 3 times the charge. Suddenly Quan Quan asks Mr. Ma to swipe his card to their ATM swiper to pay. Gao Peng ordered Quan Quan to prepare the 200 years old tree essence, 150 drops of flower spirit dew, 1 leaf of spirit flower, 1 money of golden bell, 1 caddy of fat sea, and 1 black wind grass, which Quan Quan agreed. After Quan Quan prepared all the ingredients, Gao Peng threw him outside the operating room and said that they shouldn't disturb him, but Mr. Ma still peeked, even though Quan Quan tried to stop him. Gao Peng was holding an injection, assuring the Fear Flower Demon that it just hurt a little. Then Gao Peng injected the injection into the flower, and the flower made a sound, which made Mr. Ma angry and tried to shout, but Quan Quan covered Mr. Ma's mouth and tried to make Mr. Ma calm down. Suddenly Gao Peng said they can come in, which made them shocked. Gao Peng introduces to them the 4 Seasons Begonia, level 4 and elite. Mr. Ma and Quan Quan were happy because the Flower Demon becomes so much prettier after being evolved. Suddenly Mr. Ma jumped to hug Gao Peng because of his happiness, which made Gao Peng angry. Meanwhile, somewhere, the girl who's touching her beast asks if they fail again. The tree man said even if they pass the test, they may not be able to get into a good school. Also 12 people only can be recruited, they can simply mix for a month, and then go back to the test after a month. The girl stands up while thinking that the 3 men were a bunch of stupid who thinks they're smart, and she said that no matter what other do, she must try again to find Gao Peng. In the forest, the small monsters feel the forest shaking. Then the small monster sees some mushrooms. Suddenly the small monster gets attacked by the spider web, which made the monster shake in fear. The monster activates his combat form, then spin around to free itself from the spider web. But more spider webs were poured by the poor small monster. When the small monster was fully covered by a spider web, the spiders showed themselves, and there were a lot of spiders coming out into the forest. Meanwhile, in Chen Jai's material shop, Gao Peng getting his 30 pounds of cedar pine needles to Old Chen, but Old Chen said the cedar pine needles are out of stock and only 10 pounds were left. Gao Peng asks Old Chen why cedar pine needles are out of stock when there has an estate outside the city that specializes in supplying them. Old Chen hands his tablet to Gao Peng to show that a week ago there have a group of villainous spiders emerged from nowhere, and the spiders ate all the herbs in the garden, so the area had been sealed off by the army. Old Chen also said that the spider eats other monsters in the surrounding mountain and forest, and he heard that if it weren't for the boss of the estate running fast, they could also be eaten. Old Chen's words were interrupted when someone entered the shop to buy. Old Chen asks Gao Peng if they can talk later because he has business to receive. Gao Peng realizes that first the college and the military had a sudden collaboration, then the security company that came to his door, then lastly the unknown spider that appeared suddenly. Gao Peng knows that something big will happen. Suddenly Mr. Liu calls Gao Peng. Gao Peng answers the call, then Mr. Liu asks if he knows about the newly discovered brutal gray spider in the Ember Forest. Gao Peng immediately go to Blue Shield Security Company, where he was greeted by Mr. Liu. Mr. Liu said it was urgent, so he won't speak any courtesies and asked Gao Peng to follow him through the background information. Mr. Liu explains that due to the large number of brutal gray spiders attacking numerous resource sites, the government has brought together security companies and several private organizations to explore forests with the goal of understanding the habits and weaknesses of the brutal gray spiders. Mr. Liu said their company just received the assignment and will be leaving in 3 days, but they don't have enough reserves of imperial beasts yet. So Mr. Liu would like to ask Gao Peng to take a look at the beast in advance because if they can advance a few more devil mantis before they leave, they will have a better chance of success on the mission. Gao Peng said he better look at the situation of the devil mantis first. Mr. Liu said the company really takes the opportunity very seriously, and previous meetings convened by the coalition government abolished many regulations that suppressed non-official forces. Mr. Liu swiped his card to open the room while saying the changes in monsters in recent years and that the government is increasingly overwhelmed. And Mr. Liu said the conference has opened up many policies and is afraid the direction of the coalition is about to change. Mr. Liu asks Gao Peng to take a look, then Mr. Liu explained that all the devil mantises in the company are there. Also Mr. Liu said they will arrange enough manpower to assist Gao Peng. Mr. Liu assures Gao Peng that his rewards will definitely make him feel good, as long as the results they wanted are achieved. Gao Peng said he won't let Mr. Liu down, then Gao Peng proceeded to check at the devil mantises. On the other hand, Mr. Liu was upstairs looking at Gao Peng in the mirror, then his secretary asks him what is Gao Peng doing. Mr. Liu's secretary said that all he can see from the moment Gao Peng went downstairs, he just touched and looked like an old man shopping, and is a bit confused if Gao Peng really can do it. Mr. Liu tells his secretary to shut up if he doesn't know how to talk properly, which made the man shocked in fear. Mr. Liu looks at where Gao Peng was and wonders if Gao Peng can do it, but is betting his future on Gao Peng, so he can only believe that Gao Peng must be capable. On the other hand, Gao Peng said the 8th one from the left in the 1st row, the 4th one from the right in the 4th row, and the largest one in the 7th row. Then he asks to leave the 10 devil mantises he just mentioned, and he asks to prepare a laboratory, as well as a low-rank insect enhancement drug, low-rank ETH crystal core, star steel powder, and perilla leaves in 10 copies. Mr. Liu immediately ordered his secretary to prepare the requirements that Gao Peng said. Mr. Liu realizes that Gao Peng sees the 10th strongest devil mantises in just 10 minutes among hundreds of imperial beasts. Mr. Liu thinks Gao Peng's speed and accuracy rate was faster than the new senior, and the most frightening thing is that Gao Peng is less than 20 years old. The materials that Gao Peng requested arrived, then Gao Peng started working, and mix all the ingredients. Finally Gao Peng get the mixture of ingredients he needed. Suddenly Mr. Liu heard Gao Peng shouting it worked. Mr. Liu stand up and walked toward Gao Peng, and he saw the devil mantises evolved with cheering people. Mr. Liu's secretary said Mr. Liu really has a good eye because the devil mantises turned out to be a leader level 4 winged jade mantis, and it's a perfect quality evolution. Mr. Liu was looking at Gao Peng, proud that Gao Peng is really unfathomable treasure he has found.
अगर तुम लोग नए हो तो सब्सक्राइब करो, वो जो लाल वाला बटन है उसके साथ सूर्य नमस्कार करो या फिर अनुलोम विलोम।